And Diesel, what's your response? Back to the studio.
Should I buy a petrol or diesel car, and what's the difference? What a boring subject, right? But let's face it, if you're buying a new car, you probably should need to know the answer. Well, Carmoola has taken one for the team and we've done the research, so you don't have to. Let's look at the following questions. Which costs most to buy? Which costs most to run? Which is better for the environment? And which is best to drive? Answers to all of this and more coming up.
If you're shopping for a brand new car, you're very likely to pay more for a diesel car. So, a car that costs £40,000 as a petrol vehicle would probably set you back about £42,000 if it were diesel, which is about a 5% increase. That's right, I can do maths.
But why is this? Well, diesel engines are more complex, so they cost more to build. However, looking at newer cars, their cost varies on their individual desirability. Oh, that's kind of fun to say. Individual. Okay, sorry. Some big SUVs are more desirable with a diesel engine, whereas cute little city cars are more desirable with petrol engines. So the whole thing kind of evens itself out.
Diesel engines work a bit differently to a petrol engine, as diesel is denser and has more energy in each litre. This means they use less fuel, but diesel costs more at the pumps. Let's look at road tax, or car tax as some people call it. All you really need to know is that unless you buy a car with a very powerful petrol engine, the difference in road tax costs between a petrol and diesel car is pretty small. Insurance premiums and servicing costs are likely to be very similar too, but you can expect to pay a bit more for a diesel because, as we mentioned, they're more complex. What about the cost of repairs? Well, it's the big unknown for any used car, and there are no guarantees either way. However,
modern diesel cars have something that's called a diesel particulate filter. Diesel particulate filter. Diesel particulate... Okay, basically these filters reduce all the nasty stuff that comes out the exhaust. And if you don't do a lot of long journeys, these can get clogged up and potentially be costly to put right. And if you buy a newer diesel car, this may become a familiar sight to you. It's a liquid called AdBlue that needs to be regularly added into the car, again to reduce emissions. It's not expensive, but it is an additional cost to think about. Which is best for the environment? Well, the bad news is that both petrol and diesel engines create harmful emissions. But they're different kind of emissions though. Petrol engines emit a lot of carbon dioxide, also known as CO2, one of the greenhouse gases that's linked to climate change.
Diesel engines emit less CO2, but more nitrogen dioxide and particulates, which are linked to air pollution in cities, so they're not so good at a more local level. Newer diesel cars, as we've discussed, have lots of tech that reduces emissions, so working out which option is better for the environment may depend on how old the diesel car you're looking at is.
So, can you tell the difference between a petrol and diesel car? Well, I spoke to them both directly and got the inside scoop.
And Diesel, what's your response? Back to the studio.
Once you're sat inside, it's harder to tell because of all the soundproofing that's like tucked away in there. But remember, this soundproofing isn't to conceal your embarrassing music taste. But look, on the whole, petrol cars can be a smoother and quieter ride in comparison to older diesel cars. Diesel engines do have their upsides though. They give you more power at lower revs, which means they're better suited to towing, and you'll have to change gear less on the motorway. So there's your super quick guide to petrol versus diesel cars. And let's have a quick recap of the pros and cons. Whatever type of car you're thinking of buying, applying for car finance with Carmoola is easy. Just download the app and start the process. Got questions? Reach out to us. We love to chat.